When I first arrived in the Diocese of Providence just over 5 years ago, one of the first things I did that fall was to go around the diocese and organize a set of regional meetings, just so I would have a chance to get out, to meet people, learn about the diocese, learn about our parishes, and we had some really good discussions. And I thought now that I've finished my first 5 years here, it would be a good time to repeat that process, to get some folks together from around the diocese in these different meetings, as I mentioned, talk to you a little bit about some of the things I've tried to do and some of the programs we're involved in, talk to you about some of the challenges and needs we have, but also get some feedback from you, some response to where we are in the life of the diocese at this time. A word of introduction, my presentation tonight, I'll try to keep it relatively brief, but it will not be all-inclusive. I can't begin to talk about everything that's going on in the diocese or to talk about all the challenges and needs and opportunities we have. What I'm trying to do tonight is give you a little snapshot, just a little quick image of what's happening in the Diocese of Providence right now, and then to elicit your feedback in response to that. So I will give a little presentation, and then Connie will help organize you into a few tables in which you have some small group discussions. And then we'll come back here to get some reports from each of your tables. If we happen to have a few moments at the end, we will have some time for some general questions or comments, but I will do my very, very best. I will almost promise to have you out of here by 8:30. I know many of you have had long days, you've had to travel a little bit, so we certainly won't keep you beyond that 8:30 mark this evening. I want to be mindful and respectful of your time. Also want to do a little apology in advance. I'm going through my normal spate of allergies, so my voice isn't quite as strong and as clear as it usually would be. I won't be doing any singing for you tonight, but that's probably a blessing for you. But between a little bit of water and a microphone, I will try to get through it. But if I sound a little congested or I start to cough, I will ask your indulgence in advance. Let me begin with this little quote from our Holy Father, Pope Benedict, a little reference from his inaugural homily when he was installed as the Vicar of Christ, the Bishop of Rome, the shepherd 5 years ago. And I use this reference as our general context tonight. Pope said this. He said, "There is nothing more beautiful than to be surprised by the gospel, nothing more beautiful than the encounter with Christ. There is nothing more beautiful than to know Christ and to speak to others of our friendship with him." Great little reflection that I've used a lot because I think it describes the work of the Church Universal, the work of our diocesan church, and the work of your own parish communities. It can be summarized in those couple words. There's nothing more beautiful than to know Christ. There's nothing more beautiful than to speak to others of our friendship with Christ. And in one way or the other, everything we do in the church has to try to achieve one of those goals. To know Jesus and to love him, to serve him, and to speak to other people about our faith, about our friendship with Christ. So I use that just as the context, the background music of our presentation this evening. First of all, tonight I want to talk about 6 general areas of initiatives, programs, and then if you know how compulsive I am, you won't be surprised. There'll be 6 general areas of challenges and needs too. So if you're taking notes, you want to write down a couple key words. There'll be 6 general areas of initiatives and programs, and 6 general areas of challenges and needs. And I'll try to go through these clearly, but relatively concisely. And the first thing is this. The first thing I've tried to do in the diocese in my 5 years here is to encourage an ongoing process of consultation and information and discussion around the diocese. As I've told the other groups, I go to lots of meetings. I spend most of my days at the diocese going to meetings, and there are 6 or 7 boards I meet with regularly. The Priest Council and the Finance Council. We had a 2-hour meeting of our Finance Council today, and the consultors and the deans and other boards I meet with all the time. But then there are groups we meet with on an ad hoc basis about particular issues, the pension boards and school board and various groups around the diocese that we meet with on an occasional basis so I can try to stay in touch with what's going on around the church. One of the first things I did coming into the diocese was to establish a diocesan pastoral council. I think it's the first time think, in the history of the diocese, that we had a diocesan-wide pastoral council. Most of your parishes, I hope all of them, have some form of a parish council. I've tried to do the same thing on a diocesan level, and we meet quarterly, on a regular basis, and we discuss a lot of different issues and agenda items going on in the life of the church. It's been a wonderful group. I've benefited by their consultation and discussion a great deal, and I'm very, very pleased with the way our diocesan pastoral council has worked. And the other thing I've tried to encourage in our parishes is the establishment or the functioning of parish councils. I think it's really important your parishes have the support of a consultative group without taking away the role and the responsibilities of a pastor, but to help him, give him guidance, support, information, suggestions, and assistance in his pastoral leadership of the parish. I just think that ongoing process of discussion and consultation without getting gridlocked, without getting tied down in endless or long meetings, I think that process of discussion and consultation is important for all of us so that we know what's going on in the church, in the diocese, and in your parishes. So I've spent a lot of time trying to encourage that process of consultation in and throughout the diocese. Second thing I would mention is probably the most productive and visible program we've engaged in the first 5 years is the Year of Evangelization. I hope and pray that all of you are aware of it. It's been a major focus for us for the last year now, and we've asked every parish to do something. The reason for the Year of Evangelization is to try to support the work of the church, strengthen the work of the church, make the church more visible in our community. Second purpose was to try to welcome back to the church inactive members of the church, Catholics who have drifted away or fallen away, or inactive Catholics. And every parish has them. Every family, I suspect, has them. People have just stopped going to church, trying to encourage them to come back. And also inviting other people who are unchurched, people who have never had a church home, to come and learn more about our Catholic faith and encourage them to come and join our community as well. I just felt that for so long, the church has been in a rather defensive posture, whether it's through the financial crisis that has affected the church as well as community, whether it's been the scandal of the sexual abuse crisis, whether it's been the closing and merging of parishes, whether it's been the closing and merging of schools, whether it's been the changing climate regarding moral questions and social issues with which we're dealing. For a long time now, I think the church has been on the defensive. My goal in initiating the Year of Evangelization is to help us to break through that and be proud of what we're doing as Catholics. Talk about the church. Get the church out there and invite other people to come in and visit us. We've done a lot on a diocesan level. We started with the Congress last year. We did that series of television ads programs I hope you saw last year during Advent and Christmas. We recorded some radio advertisements. We've used our diocesan website and newspaper a great deal. But also I'm very proud of and very grateful for what your parishes have done. Some of our parishes have done a terrific job of taking this program and running with it, doing some very strong and creative things, and getting the parish out in the community, welcoming people back. And I hope your parishes have done that, and if not, it's not too late, because we're still in the midst of the Year of Evangelization. But I'm very, very happy and very proud of this program. The work always has to be in the church about evangelization. From the time of Jesus, who said to his apostles, "Go forth and teach, go forth and preach, go forth and baptize." From the time of Christ, the work of the church is about spreading out, sharing good news, about evangelizing. And I think we have a real pressing need to do that in our own time as well. That's the second thing. Third thing I've really tried to emphasize in my first 5 years has been the charitable ministry, the charitable works of the church, responding to community and social and charitable needs. You're well aware of the ongoing efforts of the Catholic Charity Fund, which continues to be very important and very successful. Every year we spend a lot of time and effort in promoting the Catholic Charity Fund. It's our major source of funding for the charitable work of our diocesan church. This year we fell just slightly short of our goal, but there are a lot of specific reasons for that. But the people of the diocese were amazing this year, more than ever, in responding to the very best of their ability with their generous gifts to the charity fund. We are getting ready to launch in the diocese our 6th annual Keep the Heat On program. And again, I hope you're all familiar with that. We've worked hard to promote that. And over the first 5 years, we've raised over $1 million. We've been able to provide heating assistance for about 3,500 households throughout the state of Rhode Island. People who come to us as a last resort, people who otherwise wouldn't have any means of heating their homes during the long and cold and dark winters. I'm very proud of this program. As I've said to other groups, one of the things I like about this program is that it's very tangible. I know that the money we are receiving for the Keep the Heat On is going out to specific families and households, and that there are some people staying warm. There's some families, there's some children staying warm in January, February, March because of this program. It's a very direct connection in helping people, so I'm very grateful for everyone's response and support of that as well, and we'll be getting ready to launch that again probably by the end of next month. We tried to respond to other needs in the community. We opened a homeless shelter during the winter months for the first time last year. We've tried to respond to the very high level of unemployment in our state with a number of different initiatives. And of course, our diocese has responded beautifully to some very special needs. As you know so well, the local flooding, the terrible flooding that affected so many people in our state last spring, end of March, beginning of April. Our diocese was present through Catholic Charities. We raised funds. We were present in the communities. We helped people during that time of suffering in so many different communities, in Warwick and West Warwick and Cranston and Westerly and other places that were affected by the flooding. Our church was there. Catholic Charities was there. We collected funds and were able to share that with people in need. And then, of course, last January, the terrible earthquake in Haiti, the awful devastation caused by the earthquake in Haiti. Our diocese, our little tiny diocese in the state of Rhode Island, raised nearly $1 million. I think it was the largest special collection in the history of our church. We were able to send that directly to Catholic relief services in Haiti, where they were able to do a great deal of good. And of course, that need continues. But I was very, very proud of what you folks, our whole diocese, did in responding to the earthquake in Haiti. Fourth thing we've tried to emphasize in the diocese is a number of communications initiatives. As you know, about 3 years ago, we redesigned our diocesan newspaper, moving it from the Visitor to now the Rhode Island Catholic. Again, Mike Guilfoyle, who's present tonight, had a great deal to do with that, and we're very proud of and very grateful for the work of the diocesan newspaper. When many dioceses are cutting back on their newspapers or eliminating them, we're doing our best to support it, to strengthen it, and make it stronger and more relevant than ever. I've tried to contribute in a small way to the diocesan newspaper every other week, writing my little reflection, without a doubt, columns, which, again, for me is an exercise of the teaching ministry of bishop. There's many different ways that bishop teaches. Teaching is one of the most important things the bishop does. We do it in formal ways in the cathedral or in a pulpit or in parish churches during Mass. There are less formal ways in my writing. My little column that I write for the newspaper is another way of exercising that teaching office. If you follow the columns, sometimes they're serious, sometimes not so serious, sometimes about current events or the church issues or personal things. It's a way for me of connecting with people and again, letting them know what's going on in my heart and my mind. And I'm sure you know that some of those columns now have been collected in a beautiful little book called Effective Faith. This is not a sales pitch tonight, but on the other hand, if you haven't seen the book, there are order forms here and at the door tonight and some copies of the book as well. It's a beautiful Christmas gift. It's not too early to start thinking about Christmas or your neighbors, relatives, friends. It's a great tool for evangelization. Somebody you want to bring back to the church. It has it's a great stocking stuffer for Christmas. So anyhow, the book's available tonight. If you'd like to take a look at that, don't hesitate. But again, a collection of some of the articles I've written in one place. And our diocesan websites, and I have to tell you up front, I don't know much about this stuff, all this technology, but I'm told it's really important. Our diocesan websites have been refreshed and renewed and upgraded to our diocese, the newspapers, Catholic Schools Office, parishes, I don't know about this stuff about Twitter and Facebook and I don't understand all that, but I'm told it's very important. But we've worked hard to be on the cutting edge of some of these communications efforts so that the church is present. And I have to say, even Pope Benedict has encouraged us bishops to get involved in technology, so I guess I have to think about it. But I'll think about it. Fifth general area of initiative I've tried to emphasize is we've begun looking at our own diocesan staff, and we've begun a process of reorganizing our diocesan staff. We've done so for a couple reasons. First of all, because we have very limited financial resources. But I believe every organization periodically has to go through a process of pruning. Otherwise, every institution, every organization just continues to grow and grow and grow. And once in a while, you have to intentionally step in, cut back, and to prune to be sure it's being as efficient and effective as possible. So we're going through this process. We've already made some reductions, some limitations. We have some more studies going on that we'll continue looking at specific areas in the life of the church. We certainly want the essential work of the church to continue, but there are many ways of doing the same thing. So we're trying to make it as efficient and effective as possible. We've made some changes. There'll be more coming, but I just think that's a process that every organization, every institution has to go through once in a while. In the sixth general area that I wanted to mention in terms of initiatives is I've worked hard to try to increase the presence of the church in community affairs and public issues. As you know, I haven't been too bashful, I haven't been too shy about speaking out about these things, but I believe that that's both the right and the responsibility of the church is to engage the community, engage the secular world in these issues. Jesus called his disciples, Jesus formed the church to be the salt of the earth, to be the light of the world, to be the leaven that makes a difference in the world around it. So I believe firmly the church has to be involved in these issues, in this discussion about current events and contemporary issues. So I've been involved in issues like the whole immigration question, the healthcare debate, respect for life issues, whole question about the meaning and the dignity of the sacrament of matrimony. These and a bunch of other issues, I think the church has every right and the duty to be present at the table for these discussions. And if we don't bring that spiritual vision, that vision of faith, to these public discussions, who will do that? Can't expect the corporations, or the politicians, or the unions, or the secular media, or anyone else to do it for us. We have a right to bring that vision and those values into the public discussion. Some people will agree, some people will disagree. It's okay, but we have the right to be part of that discussion. I've tried to make the church present in doing that. I've also been involved in a lot of ecumenical and interfaith efforts as well. Since I've been here, I've preached in a Jewish synagogue, I've preached in a Baptist church, I was the keynote speaker at the ecumenical prayer breakfast at Bryant University a couple years ago, and every other month I meet with the leaders of other judicatories, other denominations throughout the state of Rhode Island for a simple little breakfast where we discuss what's going on in our own churches and faith communities. So in general, to make the church present and relevant in the life of the world and the life of our community, as I've said on many occasions, as a priest and as a bishop, I was not ordained to be irrelevant. And indeed, you as Catholics, you were not baptized to confirm to be irrelevant. You need to be involved in these issues, taking your faith with you. That's another issue we'll get to in a moment. So there are 6 general areas that I just wanted to mention to you. There's a whole bunch of other little things that I could mention, particular things we've tried to do. As you know, I moved the sacred remains, the body of our founding bishop, Bishop Hendricken, from the crypt of the cathedral, the base of the cathedral, up to the main body of the cathedral as a beautiful resting place now, a beautiful tomb, mausoleum, and a place where he certainly deserves that kind of dignity. He's a great figure in the history of Catholicism, not just in Rhode Island, but throughout New England. He was our founding bishop. He built the cathedral, in which he is now resting, so I thought it was important to do that. We named some new Monsignors a couple years ago. Perhaps some of your pastors were involved in that. And last winter, of course, in December, I had a great joy of ordaining a new auxiliary bishop, Bishop Robert Evans, as our new auxiliary bishop. That was certainly a personal highlight for me. It's the first time I've ordained a bishop. Bishop Evans I've known for 40 years. We were classmates together in the seminary. So for me personally, it was a wonderful moment and a great gift from the Pope to our diocesan church. We've tried to revise some of our policies we work with all the time, the policies for ministers of Holy Communion, extraordinary ministers of Holy Communion, policies for mass stipends and offerings for weddings and funerals, a whole bunch of particular things like that we've been involved in as well. Now let me mention quickly just 6 areas that I consider ongoing challenges. Not one of these is unique to the Diocese of Providence. They're true to the church throughout our region and throughout the country, I would say, for the most part. And the first one is probably the most obvious, and that's the challenge of our diocesan finances. Now, from a day-to-day basis, a year-to-year basis, the diocese is doing okay. We don't have lots and lots of extra money. We're pretty much at a break-even budget, but we're not running any major operating deficits either. We've been very careful not to spend more than we have. For the last several years at least, we've had in effect a break-even budget on a year-to-year basis. And that's very encouraging in this day and age. We do have some long-term challenges. We are carrying an ongoing debt of over $6 million. The diocese has been carrying for 8 or 9 years now. It comes primarily from the sex abuse settlements that go back a number of years ago. We've been able to pay the interest payments on that $6 million debt, which anywhere from $200,000 to $300,000 to $400,000 a year, which is a major burden for us. We just keep carrying this debt from year to year. We've started a program of trying to pay that down, the principal, but we just don't have a lot of extra funds to do that. But that's a challenge for us. Our pension funds need some funding, especially the clergy pension fund, our priest retirement fund. Last year we were at the point that if we continued the process we were involved at that time, the priest pension fund would have been bankrupt within 8 years. We've changed now in terms of trying to get some additional funding. We've curtailed some expenses. We're about to launch a little special gifts campaign to try to endow the priest retirement fund a little bit more securely. We're also reviewing the use of all of our diocesan property. We've been able to dispose of some property we haven't been using or has become too costly, and we're actively looking at some other diocesan property we're not using as well. Try to be sure that we are as efficient there too. Second general area of challenge, of course, is Catholic schools. Catholic schools, this will come as a surprise to no one in this room. We've had a number of closings in recent years, 2 this past year, and 5, I believe, the year before that. Like almost every diocese in the Northeast, in New England, in the Great Lakes region, in the Mid-Atlantic region, many other parts of the country, we've gone through a process of losing population in our Catholic schools. The population is changing, demographics are changing, it's becoming more and more expensive. Decreasing enrollment and increasing expense has touched all of our schools. We hope and pray that we can maintain the schools we have now, but certainly no guarantees. We have to respond to the changing situation around us. We've tried to provide funding for our schools to the best of our ability through the Anchor of Hope Fund, through the tuition tax credit program that we were able to initiate and implant into the General Assembly with the governor a few years ago. It's $1 million a year in tuition tax credits for corporations who want to make a donation to private schools. They get a tax credit for corporate purposes. That's been helpful, but not nearly enough. We hope someday when finances turn around to do even better with that. We're in the process of looking for a new superintendent of schools. We haven't had a superintendent for about the last 16 months or so, but that search process is going on. But also a number of success stories in our Catholic schools. A lot of our schools are doing very well. School right here at Blessed Sacrament has the largest enrollment it's had for a number of years. Other schools in the area have been a beneficiary of other schools closing, so that people come here. So while some schools close, it strengthens other schools in the neighborhood. Now we have a brand new school out in Cranston, the Immaculate Conception School, which is a beautiful, beautiful facility. St. Patrick's Parish has opened St. Patrick's Academy here in the city to provide a cost-friendly alternative to Catholic high school education. So there's lots of good things going on with Catholic schools as well. Third general challenge, ongoing, relates to the strength and the viability of our parishes. Just as our schools have suffered some demographic changes, so have our parishes. In the first 2 years here, I visited every parish of the diocese. At that time, 150 parishes. Most of the parishes I've been to more than once, some parishes several times for different occasions. And it's been a great opportunity, a very rewarding opportunity for me to visit our parishes. Priests, the people, the staffs have been very kind and very welcoming, and I'm grateful for that. But frankly, some of our parishes are struggling. They're having a difficult time, especially with finances. We have something like 20 parishes or so that have very significant financial challenges. The outstanding indebtedness of parishes to the diocese is somewhere in the realm of $5 million of unpaid bills. That's for insurance, healthcare insurance, priest pension funds, lay pension funds, all those services the diocese provides. We have about $5 million of unpaid expenses from our parishes to the diocese. And some parishes have loans also from inter-parish loan fund, which basically is our diocesan bank, money that comes from other parishes. Some parishes can borrow. So some of our parishes have significant problems, and our staff is working with them very closely. I know everyone's doing their best, but we have some changing demographics, and our people have struggled because of their financial situation, unemployment. Some of our parish income on an annual basis is down. I know people are doing their very best, but we have that much unemployment, people leaving the state. It just becomes very difficult for our parishes and our schools and the diocese to do everything we want to do. But I know people are doing their best, and we'll try to respond accordingly. Of course, we also have a couple new churches. One was just dedicated last year, another one being built, St. Francis de Sales in North Kingston, and a number of parishes have added on facilities, built some new halls and social halls and other facilities. So there's some very positive things going on in our parish life as well. I have to say, as I go from parish to parish for different events, whether it's confirmation or parish anniversaries or installation of new pastors or school visits or whatever the activity might be, a lot of our parishes have a great deal of activity and energy and viability. Of course, I'm usually there for these great events. I'm not there every Sunday, but when I'm there for these particular events, there's always a great deal of excitement and activity, and it's always nice to see that. So important we try to keep our parishes healthy, because our parishes are the cells of the body, which is the church, the body of Christ. So it's important we try to keep our parishes as healthy as possible. The fourth general challenge we'll have very soon, and I hope you're aware of this also, is that next year in the fall we will begin using the new translations for prayers in the Mass. This is a process our whole country is going through. In fact, the whole English-speaking world, not just the United States, is going through this. So beginning in Advent of the year 2011, not this Advent, Advent 2011, some of the prayers at Mass that you're very familiar with will change. And I'm sure you're aware of this. We've written a great deal about it and lots of commentaries already. And what would be most challenging for the priest and for the folks in the pews is some of the prayers you're used to will change. So, for example, when the priest comes out on Sunday and says, "The Lord be with you," and you say, "and also with you," that's going to be wrong. Say, time out, let's go back. The answer is going to be, "and with your spirit," instead of, "and with, and also with you." Other prayers in Mass will be changed. The text of the Gloria, the text of the Confiteor, the text of the Profession of Faith, the dialogue before the preface, some other little prayers in Mass. It's going to make a change for all of our priests too, because we've gotten used to these prayers for 30 or 35 years. Now we're going to pay more attention to the book, because our prayers are changing as well. So it's going to be a challenge for all of us. The opportunity, of course, is to revitalize and renew our understanding and commitment to the liturgy, to the Mass, which is the center of our Catholic faith. Sometimes we drift into church, we drift out of church, and we sort of memorize these prayers and say them automatically. We never really stop to think about what we're saying. Well, the new translations will give us the occasion and the opportunity to do that. Think about what we're saying. Think about what we're praying, and to renew our understanding and commitment to the liturgy, especially the Mass. It'll take some patience, and we do have a process in place. We have a good committee in place that will be implementing this in the diocese over the course of the next 14 months. But it'll take some patience for all of us, but hopefully it'll come out well. I'm sure it will. The fifth general area of challenge we have in the diocesan church is to continue our process of increasing vocations to the religious life and the priesthood, especially for the priesthood in our diocesan church. In the 5 years I've been here, actually 6 ordination ceremonies, I've ordained 19 priests for our diocese. It's about 3 a year. That's pretty good. We currently have 19 seminarians studying for the diocese in 8 years of formation. We hope that number will be added to, but we have 19 seminarians right now in 4 years of theology and 4 years of college preparing for the priesthood. Our vocation team is working really, really hard. Father Najim, Father Greg Stowe, working hard every day to try to encourage vocations. It has to be a priority for everybody, though. I need you to pray for vocations. I need you to talk to young men who you think might be involved in the life of the church. Think about priesthood. It's really important. Right now, as we stand here, as I stand here tonight, we're doing okay. We have enough priests in the diocese right now to meet all of our needs. In fact, I have a couple of priests that are available for assignment right now. However, if you take that out 5 or 10 years from now, we have a lot of priests who are in their 60s or early 70s, and they're not going to work forever. I'm trying, but I can't get them to work forever. But we have a lot of guys in that age group who at some point obviously will be retiring, and for a well-deserved rest and retirement from administration. Not from priestly ministry, because they continue to serve and to help out, but from administration. So we need a lot more younger priests coming into the program. So that's a priority. We also have a new class of permanent deacons going through the process. We have 22 men studying to be permanent deacons in the diocese. They started last year. We have about 2 more years plus of formation before they would be ordained. But we're very proud of the deacons we've had, and very grateful for the men who are studying for the diaconate now. Deacons have been a great gift, a great blessing for our diocesan church. And the sixth thing and final thing I want to mention by way of challenges is to continue for us to emphasize the importance of Catholics in our church, Catholics in our pews, of living your faith in the midst of a very secular and sometimes even pagan society. You know, we do live in a world that it is very atheistic in the true sense of the word. Atheistic, a world without God. You know, Pope John Paul said we live in a world that's characterized by he talked about a pragmatic, a practical and existential atheism. What Pope John Paul talked about. He said people no longer even bother denying the existence of God. People just simply go about living without Him. An existential and practical atheism. And I think it's true. Our society becomes increasingly secular and amoral and atheistic. It's more important than ever that Catholics are aware of their faith, that they know their faith, they're proud of their faith, and not hesitant to take it with them into the public marketplace. If your faith is authentic, it touches every part of your life. There's no part of your life that can be unredeemed if you believe in Jesus and if your faith is important to you. It's one of the things I've tried to say and write over and over again. Being Catholic means something in your daily life, in your public life. You can't be a Catholic for an hour on Sunday and be a pagan the rest of the week. Otherwise, your faith is artificial and it's superficial. If you're a Catholic, it means something in your public life, in the way you go about your life in your families and in your homes, in your neighborhoods, in your school, in your political life, in your workplace, in your recreational life, in your cultural activities. You can't be a pagan during the week and claim to be a Catholic on Sunday. It has to touch your life. It has to infuse your life. And it makes a difference for you. My job as a bishop is to inspire you And your job as Catholics is to go out there and change the world, to be the salt of the earth, the light of the world, the leaven that makes a difference in the world around you. I keep hearing that Rhode Island is the most Catholic state in the nation. Statistically, we're supposed to be 60% Catholic. Hey, I have to say I don't always see evidence of it in the way we live our public and social and political lives sometimes. If we could begin to energize the Catholic faithful in this diocese, in this state, it would make all the difference in the world. So I think that's my great challenge as a bishop, by speaking and writing and being present and doing media interviews and talking to people, to try to energize the Catholic base. If I were a politician, I'd be talking about trying to energize my base. Well, I have a base. I have a constituency too that's a Catholic faithful. My job is to try to inspire you, and your job is to get out there and change the world, to be ambassadors of Christ into the secular world, to change the secular order into the kingdom of God. I just think that's so terribly important. So that's the ongoing challenge we have. So by way of conclusion, I'm just a couple minutes over time here. Let me say this. I think overall it's a great time to be a Catholic. It's challenging, it's exciting, it's energizing, and I think especially it's a great time to be a Catholic in the Diocese of Providence. I am so very, very proud of this diocese and so very grateful to be your bishop and your shepherd. You've been wonderful to me, and you're doing so many great things in the church and the world. Thank you for all that you do in the diocese and in your own parishes. One of the reasons you're all here tonight is because you are involved in the life of your parishes, and I'm most grateful for that. It makes all the difference in the world. Thank you for all that you do, and thank you for your welcome to me. I came here as a stranger from the Midwest, from Pittsburgh Steeler country, and no, I haven't changed that. But you've been very kind to me and very welcoming, and I'm grateful for all you're doing for the Lord and for His church. So